Good afternoon, everyone. I am Council President Gabe Albornoz, and it is a true honor and privilege to welcome Senator Van Hollen to meet, as he does on an annual basis, with my colleagues and I. We so appreciate these check-ins. The partnership between the federal government and state and local governments has never been more important than it has been these last 2 years. And thanks to Senator Van Hollen's leadership and that of his colleagues, the council, which is recently received the recommended capital improvement program from the county executive, and we will be receiving his recommended budget on March 15th, is in an infinitely better position than we ever thought we could have been, thanks to your leadership, sir. And we know that President Biden has worked closely with you and our entire delegation to really deliver on some groundbreaking policy that so many of our families here in Montgomery County have directly benefited from. But we are certainly still in the midst of the pandemic and facing lots of challenges, as I'm sure you've been keeping up on. And I want to acknowledge your incredible team led by Joan Kleinman, who's been such a strong partner in dealing with constituent issues, many of them complex, for now many years, but especially these last 2 years. So, Senator Van Hollen, we so appreciate your leadership and our personal privilege here. You're exactly the kind of leader that our country needs right now, a bridge builder who uses humility and common sense, but with real perseverance to be able to get things done. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Senator Van Hollen. I now turn it over to you to make some comments, and then my colleagues and I will have a few questions to follow up on after that. So Senator Van Hollen, welcome. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Chair Albornoz, and to all of you on the Montgomery County Council. It's great to see you. I do look forward to the time when we're all together in the same room again, but let me start by just expressing my gratitude to all of you for being great partners for all of our constituents, for the people of Montgomery County during these very challenging times, both in terms of COVID-19, but also, the political, turmoil within the country over the last 5 years. And all of you have really provided strong and steady leadership to the county. So I'm grateful. I bring greetings as well from my colleague, Ben Cardin, as well as other members of our delegation. And what I thought I would do is just sort of briefly, provide a review and update on where we are on issues specifically focused on the county, but also end by talking about voting rights, which impacts all of us, no matter where we live. So the good news, and thank you, Gabe, for mentioning the federal action. We took a series of steps. The most recent one, of course, was after President Biden was elected in March of last year. We passed and he signed the American Rescue Plan, which really did two big things, right? First of all, it helped deploy more vaccine more quickly and more equitably than was being done. And we all saw from this health crisis, it laid bare so many of the inequities in our society, whether it be on healthcare, whether it be on education, and the initial deployment of vaccines. And the American Rescue Plan was aimed to try to target and address and close those inequities and provide the access to everybody in our country. And then, of course, it dealt with the economic fallout and helped individuals directly and families through the payments of $1,400. It provided expanded child tax credits, which cut childhood poverty in half last year, something I'm very focused with many of my colleagues on trying to extend. It just expired the middle of this month. But that relief package also included unemployment insurance extensions and then direct help to various institutions, including schools, Montgomery County Schools, for example, $252 million. Montgomery County Higher Education, $45 million for Montgomery College and other institutions of higher learning. And of course, the emergency rental assistance monies. Thank all of you for working to deploy those And there are more that need to go out the door to ensure that, renters can stay in their homes and not be thrown out on the streets, and that tenants can get paid so that they can pay their own bills. And then, of course, there were the funds that went directly to Montgomery County, $128 million. The first tranche already went out the door, last year, right after we passed the bill. And the other half will be on its way a little later this year. The county's accounting for the way it spent the money, and I applaud all of you for your work to make sure it's spent in a smart way. So that's the American Rescue Plan. But as President Biden said at the beginning of his term, it's not enough simply to get back to where we were before the pandemic. We do need to build back better with an emphasis on better and tackle issues of social justice and racial equity and economic opportunity. And one big step, at least on the economic opportunity and making sure that the country's built for the 21st century, was the infrastructure bill that we passed. And that includes a lot of resources to repair, roads and bridges, but also importantly to expand transit and to build out things like high-speed internet and universal access to broadband, something that we started with the American Rescue Plan and the earlier bills, in which I know you've all been working to achieve as well. We need every student connected, every household connected, every small business connected. It really is vital to the 21st century, just like electricity was to people in the last century. So there are lots of important things in that bill. Maryland will receive $7 billion over the next 5 years from that bill. So I urge all of you working with us and our colleagues in the state legislature to make sure that those funds are deployed in an effective way going forward. On top of the $7 billion that will just come directly to the state of Maryland, there are also other pools, federal funds that the county can apply for and that entities in the county can apply for infrastructure modernization. And we can get into those details if you're interested. Our Washington Metro system has been something we've worked very hard to keep going during the pandemic. First, with the emergency funding, they received over $1.4 billion. As you well know, that system took a big hit because people were not getting on the Metro, but we wanted to make sure that they retain their capacity and were able to, keep their employees on board. On top of that, in the infrastructure modernization bill, we were successful at extending the authorization for the federal $150 million per year for WMATA. That authorization had come to an end. It really was at risk. And so that additional 9-year authorization provides some funding stability. We still have to go through the annual appropriations process, but that was an important marker to put down. All of us need to work together on WMATA oversight and safety. I just talked to Paul Wiedefield today. As you know, he's stepping down. He's been there for a very tough period of time, and they've done a lot of good things, but we also know there's a lot more work we need to do, especially on the safety front and with the situation with the 7,000 car series that we're facing right now. So that was an important thing. Purple line, the federal government has hung in there with its share. I think all of us have been disturbed by the cost overruns that we've seen from, I think, flawed state administration of the Purple Line contracts. It's now way over budget and way over the due date. I mean, they're talking about completion now in the fall of 2026, and the price tag is now up to $9.3 billion. So unfortunately, the way that was mismanaged, we've not been able to keep it on target and on budget, but I know we're all going to stay the course and make sure that that is built, recognizing we've got to address issues along the right-of-way, both in terms of hiker-biker trails, local businesses that have been displaced, and households. So look forward to working with you on that front. So in addition to the infrastructure bill, the other very vital part of the agenda, of course, involves the legislation, so-called Build Back Better legislation, that is still not across the finish line. We had hoped to get that done in December. We are still working on it. That does a lot of very important things. It will significantly reduce the cost of childcare to families throughout Maryland and throughout the country. When I think of infrastructure, I think of affordable childcare being an essential part of it. You know, one of the reasons, parents are not able to go back to work has been lack of affordable childcare. And this has especially impacted women in the workforce. And all of us, want to make sure that our kids, everyone's kids, have a safe and secure place to be, and it has to be affordable. And so that is a big part of it. Reducing the cost of prescription drugs is a big part of that bill. We've been trying for years to give Medicare the power to negotiate drug prices to cut costs for families. And then there are a number of other key provisions in there. Many of us, I think probably all of us here today, have been working hard for universal early education. In Montgomery County and Maryland have moved in that direction, but we need that across the state, everywhere. And of course, the climate change provisions are essential. So a lot more work to do on that front to get it across the finish line. And finally, before I turn to voting rights, I will just say the annual appropriations process is still not finished here in the Congress. As all of you know, we started our fiscal year on October 1st, but we just put last year's budget on automatic pilot, and it will be on automatic pilot until February 18th. So, a month from now, we need to replace that continuing resolution with a real budget for the fiscal year that we're already in. And it does include a lot of important things for Maryland and for Montgomery County specifically, and I'm happy to get into some of those details if you're interested. Finally, voting rights. And we're debating that today. We're going to be voting on that today. We're not only going to be voting on the voting rights bill, but we're going to be voting to reform the Senate rules to make sure that we do not have a situation where a minority can block action on legislation like the Freedom to Vote Act, which is supported by the overwhelming majority of the American people. So let me just take one moment here to back up, because, we just passed the 1-year anniversary of the January 6th attack on our Capitol, which was fundamentally an attack on our democracy, because the purpose of that attack was to disrupt the count, was to disrupt the final tally of the Electoral College votes for President Biden, and to overturn the will of the American people. I mean, it was an attempted coup. And what happened was, when that failed, and I want to thank our Capitol police officers, I want to thank the DC Metropolitan Police, I want to thank the National Guard. They made it possible for us to return later that night and finish the job. But when that attempt to disrupt the election failed, we saw the big lie metastasize and spread across the country. And that poison is now infecting state legislatures. 19 states have now passed laws to make it harder for people to vote, to put up barriers to the ballot box. And they're specifically targeting voters of color and younger voters. And so we have a duty to protect voting rights in the United States, and the Constitution expressly gives the Congress the authority and power to do that on a national basis. And that's why we're working to pass the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. They have now been combined into one bill. And later today, we will have a vote here in the United States Senate on the question of invoking cloture. So what's happening right now as we speak is Republicans are essentially going to block our ability to have a final majority vote on the Freedom to Vote Act. In other words, it's not just that they want to vote against it. That's the way democracy works. People get elected, they cast votes, and they should defend those votes. But we're not going to get to a final vote on the Freedom to Vote Act because they're filibustering it. And under our current Senate rules, which radically depart from the original intent of the founders and the architects of the Senate, under those rules, 59 senators are, 41 senators, 41 out of 100 senators can block the majority from having a vote on the Freedom to Vote Act. We need to amend this rule. It's totally a radical departure from, as I say, what was the design in our Constitution. It's nowhere to be found. There's the filibuster rule, the supermajority requirement is nowhere to be found in the Constitution. Where the founders wanted a supermajority requirement, they put it in there: 2/3 for a treaty, 2/3 to expel, to remove a president, 2/3 to amend the Constitution. There's nothing in there about needing 60 out of 100 votes just to get to a final vote, which means effectively a supermajority requirement to pass legislation like the Freedom to Vote Act. So after McConnell, if what we expect to happen happens, after he and Republicans block that, we will have a motion to reform the rules to allow for extended debate, because we do want to make sure we preserve the tradition of extended debate, but it would be clear that when that debate was exhausted and everybody had their chance to have their say, you could proceed to a final vote on the Freedom to Vote Act. And as I think all of you know, as of this moment, we do not have all 50 members of the Democratic caucus on board. I took to the floor yesterday to argue the case, but we're still arguing the case. And we did think it was important, win, lose, or draw, to have a vote in the light of day. And then if we don't get the votes to reform the rules, we're just going to have to work even harder to get a majority of senators who are willing to change the anti-democratic rules of the Senate. I mean that by small d, anti-democratic rules of the Senate, to allow us to protect our democracy. So let me close there. Thank all of you for working to make sure that in Montgomery County in Maryland, we have a democracy where everybody has a fair opportunity to cast their vote. And I'm grateful for all of you for what you do in that effort. In closing, if I could just say, Gabe, you mentioned members of our staff. We all, really need our teams in order to help do our work on behalf of our constituents. Lily Cruz, one of my former staff members, is works for the president. And Joan Kleiman, you mentioned, she has been just my point person in the 8th Congressional District on all constituent matters, and then, of course, across the state after I was elected to the Senate. She has been indispensable. We all, work on issues that are important to our constituents, and she is going to be leaving. She really is irreplaceable, but she has promised that she will work very closely with the person that we will bring on in that position, and look forward to continue to work with all of you on the policy issues and also the constituent issues that each of us want to make sure that we do our very best to resolve. So thank you all for what you do. Look forward to any questions discussion. Thanks.
Wow, thank you, Senator. Well, Joan's got some big shoes to fill, and we're going to, I think, recognize her at some point in the not too distant future, because her service to our county and our community and our state and country has been truly exemplary. Appreciate you sending a shout out to Lily. She says hi. She's doing a great job as my Deputy Chief of Staff, and she, as she likes to say, she's learned from the best, and I agree. Senator, thank you so much. I just had two questions really quick. For context, one of the biggest issues we're facing right now locally is just tremendous challenges with regards to mental health. And it's manifesting itself in many ways, and rise in crime, which is a big issue. We actually had a briefing yesterday before the full council on crime rates that are going through the roof. And one of the tools of destruction that has become popular are ghost guns. I know that you are sponsoring legislation at the national and federal level and have been such a leader in crime prevention, but also seeking holistic ways around the gang issue and many other issues you've tackled as well. But I do want to put a plug in, and if you need any help getting this through Congress, there is state legislation currently being debated right now. But this is one of those issues that's having a devastating impact on local communities. We know how dangerous these weapons are when they get in the wrong hands, and they're getting in the hands of children. There was a terrible incident in front of our Plumgar Community Center just last year involving a 14-year-old boy who murdered a young 24-year-old young man with a ghost gun, the first murder that occurred in Montgomery County with such weapons. So could you talk a little bit about your efforts and just gun control in general, which is continuing to be a huge issue and one that we as local governments are having to deal with?
Well, thank you for raising that important issue. Thanks for the work you and others on the council are doing. And let me start with the mental health issue, because we do have a system in need of real strengthening. I mean, in so many ways, it is broken. And we are trying to provide more resources from the federal level. Many of those resources travel through the state mechanisms. And so I look forward to working with all of you to try to access those funds. And I will say that the funds that we provided to the state, over $3 billion in the American Rescue Plan, can be used for these kind of things. And so I would encourage all of us to try to track and access those funds. I will say we in the federal delegation have been very frustrated by the lack of transparency and how a lot of those federal funds are being used. And we're trying our best to get the information along with our colleagues from the General Assembly. But they are eligible for these kind of purposes. And the funds, for example, that came to the Montgomery County school system can also be used to support students who are, having mental health challenges and issues. The ghost guns, number one, we need to have, a national gun safety, framework. That is why we've been trying to pass the universal background check legislation. While Maryland has that as a state law, as all of you know, we're not an island, and guns can travel from other states that don't have those laws. And of course, when it comes to ghost guns, the formulas for them can travel at the speed of light over the internet, and people can assemble them. So we have been working to try to crack down on this issue. I have joined legislation to address the issue of ghost guns and the dealing with making it, a federal crime to assemble these components. And we open to any suggestions and ideas you have. We're also working to try to empower the ATF to do more with respect to cracking down on ghost guns. So that is one very important part of our effort to address gun violence, along with other measures we're trying to apply to address gun violence, including investment in community violence prevention programs, and other investments. In fact, that's again part of the agenda pending before the Senate right now is a major federal investment to try to provide resources for community for prevention programs.
Senator, thank you. Thank you for that leadership. So we're now going to move on to my colleagues. This is the order in which people have requested. First, we're going to hear from Council Vice President Glass, followed by Councilmember Navarro, then Councilmember Friedson, then Councilmember Rice, and then Councilmember Reamer. Council Vice President Glass.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. Senator, good to see you. I think the headline that we're all going to be leading with is Joan's departure. And while we love and respect you, the same is absolutely true for Joan. And so I appreciate the council president saying that we will recognize and honor her work in some way in the near future. And so I look forward to that opportunity. I just read, Senator, I think in the paper this morning, the work that you and Senator Cardin and Congress members Raskin and Holmes-Norton are doing right here at home, just down Connecticut Avenue from where you live also, to remove Francis Newland's name from the fountain and plaque at Chevy Chase Circle. And for those who don't know, Newland was a staunch segregationalist. And I think we all agree that he should not be memorialized in that way. And as the developer of Chevy Chase, his actions, resulted in decades of racism and redlining that have had lasting effects. And when we look at the root causes of certain housing policies, especially those that have been espoused by Francis Newland, we see that there are certain thoughts and political ideologies that originally, I will say, resulted in the origin of the filibuster, the original origins to prevent civil rights, to prevent voting rights, to prevent general progress. And as you shared the status update on Capitol Hill, here in Montgomery County, just yesterday, we voted to create another early voting center at Bauer Drive in Aspen Hill, which is going to be the 14th early voting site in Montgomery County. And we continue to expand the franchise, letting people's voices be heard. And even here on the council, next time you visit with us, quite possibly, we'll have 2 more members of the council expanding representation and democracy here. And I'll note that the redistricting commission for that was a nonpartisan commission made up of Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians. And so less a question, but more a comment and a voice of support for everything that you are trying to do on Capitol Hill in overturning or eradicating an antiquated internal rule that is stifling progress nationwide. And so as you fight the good fight on the Senate floor, keep in mind what we're trying to do here in Montgomery County and across Maryland by expanding rights for everybody and making sure that every vote is heard and that every voice is heard as well.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Glass, and thanks for raising the issue of Francis Newland. It turns out that property at Chevy Chase Circle is under the jurisdiction of the National Park Service, and so we thought it was very important to take the action we did. We didn't want to in any way celebrate or glorify somebody who was known as a segregationist, a white supremacist, and where that philosophy governed so much of what he did, including, as you say, when it came to housing and development. And I want to thank you and others here on the council for all your efforts when it comes to affordable housing and ending discrimination. And that is something that I've been working very hard to accomplish as well on the Banking and Housing Committee. And there are important provisions in the Build Back Better legislation that is still pending before us in the Senate when it comes to affordable housing. Thank you for what you're doing to make sure that people have the right to vote. They don't have to stand in line for hours and hours to exercise their right to vote in the United States. That's been a big part of our debate here. If you look around the country, you find many communities, especially communities of color, where voting lines are 7-8 hours long, and it's just unacceptable to see barriers put up to voting in certain neighborhoods, but not in other neighborhoods. We need equal access and opportunity to get to the ballot box. And I should say that the Freedom to Vote Act, in addition to creating a national standard to protect the right to vote, including things like early voting opportunities, also would address the issue of gerrymandering on a national basis, which is the way it needs to be dealt with. On a national basis, creating nonpartisan drawing of congressional districts. As you know, on a state by state, it just gets done. If you do that, then at the national level, one party gets an advantage over the other. This needs to be a uniform national effort. And that legislation would also do something many of us have been trying to do for years. I was the author of the original Disclose Act in the House, which is to get rid of secret money in politics. I mean, the overwhelming majority of the American people, 90%, agree that they have a right to know who's spending zillions of dollars running these ads to try to influence their vote, ads where they have no idea who's behind them. They have a right to know that. So these are some pretty basic reforms for transparency and to strengthen our democracy. And it really is, in my view, shameful that an antiquated Senate rule stands in the way. That's why we have to reform that rule in a way, again, I want to stress, that would allow the opposition on any question, would allow the minority party or the minority on any issue to have extended debate, not like the House of Representatives where you can shut down debate in a minute. You can have weeks of debate. But at the end of that, when everybody has an opportunity to be heard, to try to persuade their colleagues or try to persuade the American public, at the end of the day, a majority vote on legislation has to prevail. I mean, it was very clear from the architecture of our Constitution, our republic, that we built in a lot of protections for minority rights. But that's why you don't also see built into our Constitution a 60 vote requirement to pass legislation in the Senate, because that's anti-democratic. And but we need to have the votes to reform it, and we're still working on that.
Good luck on the floor tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Van Hollen, it's so great to hear from you. It is outstanding to just look at the list of things that all of you have been working on. This administration has delivered so much for the American people. And I think sometimes because of what we're going through, we all underestimate the extraordinary work and everything that has been provided for jurisdiction like ours to respond to this extraordinary crisis. So I want to thank you and thank your colleagues, and of course, President Biden and Vice President Harris, for really stepping up so quickly and putting forth such an extraordinary body of just assistance on all levels, as you described. This is why here in Montgomery County, we have then been able to do the same, to step up very quickly under extraordinary pressures, but it is because of all of those resources that you were able to provide to us that we have done everything possible to mitigate this impact. So I want to thank you again, your colleagues in this administration, because I don't think we talk about this as much as we should, given everything that we are facing. On top of that, as you just finished discussing, you are not just doing that, but then you're also doing everything possible to preserve our democracy. What a task. What an extraordinary task. And it does feel sometimes like the Twilight Zone, because this council, and I'm proud to have chaired the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee for quite a while now, but this council has always prioritized access to voting. You talk about dark money. You know, we were able to pass public campaign finance program, which has been very successful, and was just kind of an experiment, but we've seen what it's done. So it is hard sometimes to see how there's such a disconnect on the federal level versus what's happening locally. So anyway, we are here to support you and to help and to continue to engage with our residents as much as possible. I guess my only question actually has to do with education. And as we are moving forward in addressing this particular wave of Omicron, which, as you know, has been very different in the sense that it has really affected staffing levels in all categories, private sector, public sector, but of course, in the space of education, it has been really tough. And just wanted to flag for you, and I don't know if there's been any kind of conversations as well, but with the Department of Education to see whether there are opportunities to provide guidance around what could be some innovative ways the school systems can be, supported in figuring out how to pivot whenever we are confronted with waves like this one, and hopefully we won't, but there might be others. And I feel like even though this is a lot of the state guidance, should be coming from the State Board of Education, I think the federal level could provide also some support, some guidance, some best practices, and then some additional funding for school systems to be able to do that. It worries me that destabilizing our educational systems is going to have such a long-term impact for jurisdictions. So a little bit different than everything we've discussed, but something that has been on my mind in terms of us moving forward and figuring some of these issues out in the future.
Well, Councilmember Navarro, let me start by thanking you for your amazing service on the council. And I know you and a number of other members of the council will no longer be serving there at the end of this term, but I want to thank you and all the others who will be leaving the council. Look forward to continuing to work with all of you in the future, because I know all of you remain dedicated to the important issues for our community. So thank you for that. Thank you for underscoring the issue of the American Rescue Plan money, because that has been a vital safety net for our community and our state and the country. Unfortunately, that was a bill where we got no Republican Senate support, zero. Now, a lot of our colleagues and a lot of governors in a lot of places who opposed it are going around their states and around the country, talking about all the good things that those funds did, but not acknowledging in many cases the fact that they opposed the funding in the first place. So I'm grateful for you and your colleagues underscoring that. I will say that the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Powell, was before the Banking and Housing Committee the other day, and I asked him about it. He said, because of the American Rescue Plan, we were able to reduce the unemployment rate in our country a full year ahead of schedule. We're now at around 3.9%, much lower than projected before we passed the American Rescue Plan. And by the way, 4 years faster than the Congressional Budget Office had projected that we get to that level. So it has been effective. Obviously, there are lots of other challenges that we're all working together in partnership to address, but that has been an important success story. And the monies from the ARP, and this gets to your point on the schools, included a substantial amount of funds for Montgomery County schools, $252 million for the schools, more than went directly to the county. And its whole purpose was to provide them with additional tools to put in safety procedures, to do more testing, to buy more masks and PPE, to change ventilation systems as necessary, to put in place policies that they thought would be important with respect to protecting students and teachers during the pandemic. Now, I recognize that additional guidance as we have new variants is helpful from the CDC. They've been trying to keep up with the rapidly changing circumstances. And that is why, at the end of the day, they have said that a lot of these decisions need to be based on the circumstances being confronted in a particular state or even a particular jurisdiction. Some jurisdictions like Montgomery County have much higher vaccination rates than other counties. Congratulations to all of you in your efforts to get more of our fellow citizens and residents vaccinated. But I think it has been obviously a challenge with respect to specific guidance, national guidance that would apply everywhere in the country, given many different circumstances. So what we've tried to do is provide the resources and tools to school systems to be able to make the changes needed. But let's keep in touch on this issue, because obviously our goal is to try to make sure that we get our kids in the classrooms and schools, but we also have a safe environment.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you so much. First of all, echo all of the comments made about Joan Kleiman, our friend and colleague, and I hope that we have time to spend hours thanking her for her service to our county and community and country, but just would be remiss if I didn't start with that. But Senator, we talk a lot about how fortunate we are to represent the most talented and most sophisticated electorate in the country, and our vaccination rates and our response to this, is reflective of that. But we're also so lucky to be represented in the United States Senate by the most talented and most thoughtful and principled person, and we're just so grateful for your leadership, for your support, for your partnership. So thank you for that. Lots of questions that we all could ask, and appreciate all of the things that you hit on, and understandably, voting rights, the right that guarantees all other rights, is the focus right now in the United States Senate, as it rightly should be, and we really appreciate you helping to lead that effort for all of us and for our country. I think history will remember this moment on that particular issue. But I wanted to ask two specific questions. The first question is about the alarming rise in anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic violence. Hatred of all forms and all kinds, certainly, but this is one particular one, unfortunately, recently we've seen and has been a rising trend, and just wanted to know any efforts at the federal level and national level that we could partner with you to work on that. We've tried to do our part here. We funded $700,000 for security grants for religious and cultural institutions in our last budget, continuing to provide resources at the police and local support level. And then in addition to that, obviously safety, security being first and foremost, but you mentioned, and we've been talking about ARPA and how important it was, the Relief Plan Act, to saving our country from the abyss and saving families who wouldn't have been able to put food on their tables to continue to provide what they needed to. There's a particular issue that is still ongoing related to that with the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. As you know, $28.6 billion was included in ARPA. It was a lifeline to those restaurants and hospitality industry enough to receive it. Unfortunately, there were a lot of problems with the distribution of those funds, and there's been, as you know, bipartisan efforts to add to those funds. There's a Washington Post ad this week from dozens of major city mayors from all across
Looks like we may have lost you, Councilmember Friedson. Senator, if you can start responding, that would be great, and then.
Sure. Andrew is frozen on my screen as well. Councilmember Friedson, can you hear us?
Oh, you're back, Councilmember Friedson.
All right, you're muted, but let me just
apologies for that. Yeah, please.
No, Councilmember Friedson, thank you for your leadership, and thank you for bringing up these two important issues, starting with the vital issue of trying to make sure that we stamp out hate and anti-Semitism wherever it raises its ugly head. And part of it is doing what I think we do successfully in Montgomery County, thanks to the leadership of all of you, which is to immediately speak out, call it out when we see it, whether it's racial discrimination, whether it's religious bigotry, like anti-Semitism. We just need to be on full alert and vigilant. And that is a lesson of history that we all need to constantly remember and act on. And so I want to thank all of you for that. Now, of course, there's also an international dimension to this, and we are working through the State Department and others to address the rise of anti-Semitism around the world. But here at home, we have to make sure that we're on full alert. And clearly, the outrage at the Texas synagogue was just the most recent example. And we've got to address, of course, hate in all its forms. Over the summer, last summer, we saw a rise in attacks against Asian Americans when our former president was essentially, conflating Asian Americans with the coronavirus and lumping all that together. So whether it's anti-Semitism or these other forms of hate, we've got to constantly be united in speaking out and acting. Then there is the very important security dimension that you raised. And at the federal level, we created a program many years ago. It's the Nonprofit Security Grant Program to help strengthen and add security to synagogues, to mosques, to other places of worship that could be targets and have historically been targets, as well as other nonprofit entities that, because of the work they do, have become targets of hate-directed violence. We have been funding that at around $90 million a year. I know there are synagogues and other places of worship in Montgomery County and throughout Maryland that have used those funds to help strengthen their security. A number of us are working to try to significantly increase those funds to $300 million, even before this most recent attack on the synagogue in Texas. And we're going to be working to try to raise those levels to meet the threats. In terms of the next efforts to help small businesses, especially restaurants, which have been disproportionately impacted by the continuing variants in Omicron, because fewer people are going out when they run the risk of going to restaurants and other places. And so, number one, we've been trying to make sure that they have the resources they need to put in place the protections. That started with early legislation last year. It was included in the American Rescue Plan, a specific program, as you said, for small businesses, and especially targeted for restaurants. We had the restaurant program. We are trying to do one more round of emergency funding targeted especially to restaurants and small businesses that have been especially hard hit. Ben Cardin has been very involved in that as the chairman of the Small Business Committee, so we're working very closely together. It has been bipartisan. We have about 8 Republican senators on board to overcome the filibuster until we get rid of it. We need 10. So we're working to try to piece together the votes to get that done. But I do think an additional boost is necessary. As you mentioned, that program, particularly the restaurant program, was oversubscribed very quickly. So we need to, in my view, provide some additional relief.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate your leadership and Senator Cardin's leadership, and appreciate the fact that we don't have to lobby you for it. You understand the needs. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Friedson. So colleagues, just a quick time check. We've got 9 minutes left. Still 5 colleagues that would like to ask a question and speak. And of course, the Senator understandably has a hard stop at 5 to be able to take a historical vote later this evening. So what we're going to do is this. I just ask that each of my remaining colleagues keep your question brief and just acknowledge, Senator, you may not be able to respond to each of these questions.
I will shorten them up too. I'm in favor of,
we will follow up with you if we don't get to all of our questions this afternoon. So Councilmember Rice is up next.
Thank you very much, Senator. Again, thank you for your leadership and all that you've done from the very beginning of the pandemic. You started when I reached out to your office back in March of 2020 when we realized that we were going to be closing our schools. You immediately stepped up, you and your office, and thank you, Joan, and everyone that's in your office who did a phenomenal job in helping not just us here in Montgomery County, but across the nation in ensuring that children would be able to have sometimes their only meal. And, you know, that's something that, again, as you heard from Councilmember Navarro and others, many people don't understand the role that you and our federal government played in ensuring that that happens. We are, of course, concerned that that needs to continue. No longer should a stigma be set on children or their families about what their monetary status is to ensure that their children can eat healthy meals while they're in school. And so it's my hope that that you and the Senate and the Congress as a whole will continue to support efforts with USDA, FFCRA, and all that you guys have done there to ensure that the rules have changed to allow our children to be able to access quality meals. So just wanted to say again that I hope that that happens and that we continue on those efforts. I know that you've been incredibly supportive of that.
well, thank you, Councilmember Rice. And I will be brief, Chairman, but thank you, first of all, for your work and focus on this issue. And as you said, during the pandemic, we were able to make sure that we provided food through our schools to families on a universal basis. My view is that we should do that not just during a pandemic, but we should have the universal school meal program. And I am on legislation to do exactly that, in addition to the summer school program. So let's keep working on that, because what we did during an emergency, we need to do now, because we have to recognize that if you're food insecure, you're in an emergency, whether you're in the middle of a pandemic or not. So we look forward to working with you. I will say that the USDA announced recently an increase in the funds for the summer school program this year. So it's a bump up that will be helpful, but we need to resolve this issue on a permanent basis. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. Back to you, Mr. President.
Amen. Next, we've got Councilmember Reamer, followed by Councilmember Hucker, then Councilmember Katz, and then Councilmember Jawando. Councilmember Reamer.
Thank you, Senator. It's so great to see you. I'll just leave you with a comment from only speaking for myself here, but I'm glad you're talking about tackling the filibuster. You know, as you explained, it has been something that has just held back progress for decades. And, you know, it's very risky to change it because, you know, it's a two-way road, but it's worth it. And, you know, we've just got to get back to the idea of a majority rule. A legislative body just can't work on a 60-vote basis. It doesn't function. And, you know, we need to resolve that. So I hope that it can be used to make some real progress on voting rights now. And, you know, thank you for leading on that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember Reamer. And it is a fundamental core issue. I did give pretty extended remarks on the Senate floor yesterday on this topic. I would appreciate it just in terms of making sure we have public understanding of the issues. If you have a chance to share it.
I will, yeah.
With our constituents, I'd appreciate it, because I try to lay out the fact that the Constitution the Constitution itself contains lots of very important checks and balances, including for, you know, the minority in the Senate, the House, and the country. But the framers very intentionally did not include a supermajority requirement to vote on legislation.
Thank you.
We'll promote that through the council's communication. Thank you for that suggestion, Senator Van Hollen. Councilmember Hucker.
Senator, thanks so much, of course, for all your work this year. You really threw us a lifeline, and thank you so much for your help with the state coalition we put together to pressure Governor Hogan to open the rainy day fund. Appreciate that as well. Glad you mentioned WMATA. They, of course, had $1 billion deficit, and I know I spoke to you when the staff were recommending closing 15 metro stations, and we didn't have anybody on the board for Montgomery County. Your federal funds really, saved our bacon at WMATA as well, and protected our red line stations. Two quick questions. Big article in today's Post about the stark difference between Virginia taking advantage of federal funds for commuter rail and Maryland not doing much to expand MARC as usual. I realize you can't do much with federal funding if MDOT isn't giving you a concrete proposal, but you're also in frequent touch with MDOT and the governor's office. Is there anything you are doing to help us keep pace with Virginia on commuter rail expansion? And also I wanted to ask about your quote in the article with Councilmember Friesen and I about green banks. Thanks for your advocacy for them as well. We're working to get them a lot more funding in Montgomery County. I understand there might be a partial federal match. Is there anything we could be doing to be helpful with that and make sure we're taking advantage of everything we should be?
Well, first, Councilmember Hooker, thank you for all your leadership on these issues, and it's been great to work with you during this pandemic and before. So on the green bank issue, its fate is directly tied to the fate of the Build Back Better agenda, something we're working on for over a decade, actually, to get this clean energy accelerator up and running on a national basis. Thank you for what you've done at the local level. Montgomery County was one of the very first in the country to create a local green bank. So we're trying to actually help support, give a boost to that effort as a multiplier effect, but also establish them around the country. We're just working hard. Here's what I can say. If we get the whole bill over the finish line, I'm confident that will be part of it. Second, on commuter rail, look, yes, it's a major frustration of mine. We've been sort of pushing the governor and the state Department of Transportation for years to try to expand commuter rail, MARC service, and focus more on transit across the state. I think all of you know what we've been up against there, but the funds in this infrastructure bill can be used for this purpose as Virginia is using them for this purpose. And we just need unified leadership in Annapolis that's prepared to do that.
Thank you.
Senator, thank you so much. Councilmember Katz, followed by Councilmember Jawando.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senator, thank you, and Senator Cardin for all that you do. I think if we could have a filibuster in Montgomery County, we would have that to keep Joan Kleinman here. So I think that should be noted, that maybe you shouldn't reform everything on the filibuster.
I will join you in the filibuster.
What did you say? Excuse me?
I would join you. I'm voting with you on
Thank you. I can understand that. I did hear you last week at Leisure World. You did a wonderful job there as well. The only point that I wanted to make is that electoral college reform, and I know it takes a constitutional amendment and all of that, but that is something that needs to keep on everyone's radar, because that is a way that this country can actually move forward without being in such a great divide. The popular vote should be the popular vote. So I thank you. I know that Maryland is very proud of the fact that we're one of the 4 states that have actually ratified the compact. But I thank you for everything that you've done, and we feel very comfortable that you're here for all of us. Thank you very much, Senator.
Well, thank you, Sid. Thank you, Councilmember Katz. And let me just say amen to your point on the popular vote. I'm glad that Maryland is one of those states. I want to thank Congressman Jamie Raskin for his efforts there when he was in Annapolis. I do want to thank John Sarbanes for all his efforts in the current bill, the Freedom to Vote Act on campaign finance reform, which you've implemented in Montgomery County. And David Trone has worked a lot on the mental health issues that have been brought up. So, but I could not agree with you more. We should not have a situation where the person who got fewer votes from the American people can be president. And if we don't make those reforms, we obviously could see that happen again. That's not the way a great democracy should be functioning in the 21st century, if ever.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Jawando will have the final word here.
I'll be very quick, and I'll call you with my questions, Senator, so I can talk to you, so you can do the vote. Great to see you. As our dear friend and your former colleague, Congressman Elijah Cummings, whose birthday was yesterday, would say, we're in the fight for the soul of our democracy. And when you're in a fight, you want to have people like you with integrity, with intelligence, with hard work and dedication in that fight. And so just thank you for what you're doing. I did watch your speech yesterday, and I will definitely share it and underscored everything that we need to do. All these issues are connected to our ability to get things done for the American people. And one of the great joys that I've had is to be able to serve with my colleagues and to be able to antidote to Trump first in the first 2 years, do things locally when he wasn't allowing things or was doing bad things nationally. And in these last two, to be able to help people in a real way when they needed it most. And you allowed us to do that, you and your colleagues, with federal money. I just want to mention one issue. You don't have to respond in depth. The child tax credit. Councilmember Alvarez and I are working on a guaranteed income program that the whole council has approved a guaranteed income program that will launch later this year and be the first in Maryland, $800 a month for 24 months. And I just want to thank you and invite you to be a part of that when it does launch, because I think it's important to tie the connection point to people that they've been receiving these child tax credits. They've been receiving this money in a dignified way and using it to help support daily needs. And it's a perfect example, I think, of locally how we might restructure at both the federal, state, and local level, how we provide assistance to people. And I just wanted to make sure you knew that was happening. It's going to be launching hopefully by April, and there'll be 300 families that benefit. But hopefully we can continue that drumbeat to supporting people and allowing them the dignity to use the money in the way that they see fit. And I think the child tax credit is a great example of something that worked. So I just wanted to make sure you knew about that.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Jawando, for your initiative on that and your leadership on these issues of economic fairness and opportunity. Look, it is, in my view, really disgraceful that the existing child tax credit lapsed. And we are doing everything we can to try to renew it and extend it. It's not good enough to cut child poverty in half for 1 year. We need to eliminate it permanently. And at the very least, we need to have extended this provision to provide tax cuts to families with kids. I mean, people have lots of expenses to make ends meet. We know how many people are living paycheck to paycheck. And this is a tax cut and with a very important refundability provision. So thanks for what you're doing locally. I look forward to working with you on that as we try to, make it permanent at the federal level.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Senator, thank you for your time. Thank you for your leadership. We look forward to continuing this really strong partnership and alliance. And we wish you a lot of luck this evening and throughout the rest of this session. We know you're fighting the good fight and representing all of us so well. So thank you so much, Senator.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for your great partnership in service to try to meet the needs of all members of our community and our state. So thanks.
Take care, Senator.
We are. Thanks.